Hey guys, so right before this episode gets started, I just wanted to let you know the rare occurrence that I made a mistake and this episode was recording through my computer and not through the microphone. So it's going to sound a little bit different than usual. It's not going to be that much worse, but there's definitely a drop in quality for sure. So I totally get it if you guys don't want to listen to it, but I just wanted to put it out there that we were totally aware of the issue. I know that it doesn't sound as good as it normally does, and it's something that I definitely pride myself on, but I didn't want to not give you an episode this week, and unfortunately we couldn't re-record the episode. So the same thing is going to be for the Patreon episode. So I apologize. You guys are the reason why we're able to put this out every week, and we definitely don't ever want to give you content that we're not really proud of. That being said, I think that it is listenable, and maybe I'm just being crazy about the quality, and it's totally fine. But just so you know, that's why it sounds different. That's why it's not as good as it normally is, maybe. I mean, quality-wise, it's never good. But sound quality-wise, I definitely try to make it sound as good as possible. So, with that being said, here is the episode. Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself.
Hello.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC, while fielding questions from listeners like you.
Nice.
Ha 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 ha. Don't fuck it. God damn it. I knew that
You brought it up. You invoked the Will Smith ha-has, so I brought it home, baby.
Baby.
You know?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
It's my fault, clearly.
Am I supposed to not do that?
You had no choice. I get it.
Yeah.
Right. We got no reviews, so unless you have a surprise one that I
I do, if I can find it. Here, just a second.
Endgame came on the internet today.
Oh, is it really?
I may have it on that hard drive right there.
I can't find it. We have one on Podbean though.
Sure we do.
Yeah, it's from James Paulson. He sent it.
Wow, he's going through all of them. I appreciate it.
I can't find it at the moment, but James Paulson left us a review on Podbean. Thank you very much. It's a 5-star review. It's the best review. It's such a good review. All the reviews are great. Nobody hates us. Even that person that gave us 2 stars in one country.
Oh, I was gonna say, there was one that was.
There's one. It's not a review though. It's only someone just gave us 2 stars. Just to fuck.
We weren't even worth the time to actually say something about us.
It's still better than 1 star. So
that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Reaching for the middle.
Not the worst.
Yeah, let's. That's like when you tip a waitress a penny.
No, that's the worst. That's worse than not tipping. Because now you're saying, I understand the concept of tipping and I just hate you.
Well, that's why I think that's why it's the equivalent of that. Because they could have just stopped listening to the podcast.
I think the 1-star review does that. The 2-star is almost like they have a legitimate criticism, but then they didn't tell us what it was.
Because they're a pussy.
Are you listening, anonymous coward?
This is Podgate. You're not allowed.
Podgate, Jesus Christ.
So I know that we're just post SDCC.
Yeah.
But there was a few pieces of news that came out.
That we missed.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
I was like, I don't know how to move forward without the introduction.
Yeah.
Mark Bernardin.
No. Yeah, he took it from us. This is our rigid format.
We're coming for you, Bernardin.
In a different way this time.
We're not coming because of you.
Yeah.
We're coming for you.
Not with assistance.
Yeah.
First piece is so you've watched a little bit of Kryptonite or Krypton, sorry.
If I go crazy. Yes, I have watched Krypton. Yeah, I'm a couple episodes behind this season, but yeah,
But you know who the big bad was, right? Last season.
Well, yes, of course.
Well, that big bad has come to Supergirl.
Brainiac.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Brainiac 5, sucker.
Oh, Brainiac 5's already been on Supergirl.
Well, he's coming back.
He's returning as a regular, or just sort of guest spots.
It just says coming to Supergirl. I mean, I guess that leaves some.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was a relatively regular part of last season on Supergirl. He's big in there. But I mean, in the comics, Supergirl and Brainiac 5 have a romance. Like, they are important characters to each other.
Oh, it's a female Brainiac 5.
What?
Yes.
But they already had a Brainiac 5, didn't they?
Apparently, actor Megan Rath is joining the cast of Supergirl as an updated version of Brainiac 5.
Oh, interesting.
Megan's real-life brother, Jesse Rath, currently plays Brainiac 5 and made the announcement during Supergirl panel at San Diego Comic-Con. So it is still some SDCC stuff, but it's
interesting.
Isn't that very interesting?
Yeah, right.
Apparently, the quote is, "This is something that I've been pitching since I got the role. You can't talk about Brainy without talking about his family.
Right.
My real-life sister will be joining the show, Megan Rath. She will be playing a female Brainiac 5." In the comics, Brainiac 5 has always been portrayed as a hero and is a member of the Legion of Superheroes, much like the character did in Season 3, and was created by Jerry Siegel and Jim Mooney.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, cool.
So she's coming during the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Oh, okay, I see. So that's where they're doing some switching around and alternate versions of things. Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Right. Next piece of news, which is Secrets of the Sinister House returns to DC Comics this fall.
Secrets of the Sinister House. Holy shit. Really?
Yeah.
That's such a good deep cut.
Is it?
Yeah. What, like, is this like a limited series or what's happening with it?
So apparently, DC's currently going through an initiative that aims to publish titles for fans of the horror genre. So we've heard a little bit about that.
Is that what they're calling it? Is that, do they just give it a name now? Because it used to be like an anthology, like horror series.
No, so the Hill House is the banner.
Oh, right.
So along those lines, DC announced that they're going to that Secrets of the Sinister House 1 will arrive October 2nd. The book will feature talents of Paul Dini, Raphael Albuquerque, and Brian Hill, and many more contributors.
Wow.
Very interesting cover.
Well, I mean, it sure sounds like it's still an anthology thing. Oh shit! Is that?
That looks like the Joker to me.
Yeah. Oh, weird. Okay. I mean, interesting. Horror tales in the DC universe. Because I think the old one was basically just like a horror anthology series. In the way that there were romance comics and war comics, they didn't necessarily tie to like Gotham or like actual things in the DC superhero continuity. But it'd be kind of neat if this book does a little bit of both. Some things that are just alternate versions or just scary stories from the superhero world, and just some things to stand on their own. That'd be pretty neat.
So in this new prestige format 80-page one-shot special featuring a cover by John Romita Jr. and Bill
Sienkiewicz.
Yeah, sure. Travel alongside Harley Quinn, John Constantine, Detective Chimp, Zatanna, and the Atom, and others as they face a macabre devastation firsthand and in the bowels of his dark mansion.
I love it.
We return to the world of the legendary Red Rain to meet once again with the dreaded vampire Batman.
Oh yeah, Earth 42 or 43?
Yeah,
43.
Secrets of the Sinister House will feature a vampire Batman short from classic Batman and Dracula Red Rain, written by Raphael Scavone and Raphael Albuquerque, with art by Raphael Albuquerque. With Raphael something from the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, featuring Raph from the Ninja Turtles.
A Constantine story written by Brian Hill with art by Alessandro Vitti, Paul Dini writing a 10-page Harley Quinn and Zatanna short with art by Cian Tormey. and a creepy bit on the Atom written by Dan Waters with art by Sumit Kumar.
Wow. That sounds dope as hell.
An incredible Justice League Dark story written by Robbie Thompson with the art by Tom Rainey. And classic haunted house short story House of the Dead written by John Layman and art by Jorge Fornes.
Oh, wow.
Those are only a few of the tales within. So I think it is going to be maybe a one-shot.
It's just one. It's not like a whole
Yeah. But, it's...
That sounds awesome. Yeah. I'm definitely getting that. That sounds really cool.
That sounds really, really cool. It looks like the art is going to be really nice, and it's very, like, pulpy and fun. Yeah, I'm totally into that. Very, like, Creepshow-esque.
Dope. I love it. Yeah, I'm in.
Sounds like something that Kelly McNeely would like.
Mm-hmm. You know, they've done some of these sort of genre e-comics in the last...
Well, they did one in 2017, right? The DC House of Horror.
Yeah, and they've done like a couple of like Valentine-y kind of like romancy ones, and there was a Dead Man like mini-series that was a bit more like a gothic romance and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they've been going back to that every once in a while. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm in.
Yeah. So we've during SCCC we've seen the big main trailers for Batwoman.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten some interviews now post trailer showing, giving us a little bit more insight now into what we're actually going to be seeing. At least this
pilot.
Yeah, at least in this first pilot, and from the beginning, from what the first season might be actually.
Okay.
Apparently, the show will sort of begin as an origin story, actually focusing in a lot on her time in the military.
Right.
And then sort of coming into it. And they said that at least, it looks like, my guess is at least the first season is her coming up to that point.
Oh, so kind of like the opposite of what we thought would happen, where they would just time jump after the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Seems like a lot of this first season is going to be origin.
They could do it the Arrow style too, with like flashback or things like that too. I guess that's yet to be seen.
All the interviews have said that they're going to focus on her origin story, and that everything is like pre.
So then I guess just when she's part of the Crisis crossover, that'll time jump to where we are now, sort of thing.
That'd be my guess.
Yeah. Okay.
But also, like, it's not like they were that far ahead.
No, I suppose not.
Like during the event, they were, and they didn't say it would be the entire season,
right?
So it's potential that we could meet halfway through.
It's kind of nice, though, too, if it's like, you could take a couple of episodes to set some stuff up.
Because you could clearly see that she wasn't, like, super into, like, her role, I think, in the crossover last season. So it's not like we're dealing with, like we're going to be working seasons up to get to that point. It's not like, clearly, like...
It's not like she's been going as long as Green Arrow or Flash.
No, I mean, like, her sort of layer-esque thing wasn't really developed. It felt like that building was sort of still in tatters. Like, it's not like she's invested a lot of time into it.
That's
it seems
true,
like.
too, I suppose.
I would say that
it's a fair point.
I mean, well, another piece of news that we got about it is that Hush Origin and Elegy is going to be featured in this season.
Yeah, I think I heard that Tommy Elliott, a.k.a. Hush, a Batman villain, is going to show up in, like, pretty early, like episode 3 or something.
Which is crazy. Pretty significant.
There are some... The sort of companion piece to that is, that classic DC thing about what characters you can't use. The one they can't use right now, which is going to piss people off, is Renee Montoya.
Which is crazy.
Because Renee is a huge part of Kate Kane's story as Batwoman, right? Kate Kane as Batwoman and Renee Montoya, the Question, were a couple in the comics for, like, quite some time.
It's crazy. Like, I
but
feel...
because Renee Montoya is going to be in that Birds of Prey movie... DC is like, let's wait and see. And
haven't they learned their lesson by this point? Like,
I don't know what the thinking is. Like, I don't know how they could think that, like, well, if we put her on TV, people won't see the movie.
How is that?
It's not gonna. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's even confusing. People get that they're different things. Like, I really do not understand whatever that logic is.
If anything, you would think that it would create a buzz for that character, right? Like, people didn't know who it is, and now are excited about
it. The Flash, how come the Flash is a big character? How come that's not a problem?
Yeah,
but you know what I mean. Like, there's there's a lot I don't understand about that, but that'll probably piss some people off. kind of pisses me off. But
I guess the only way that
hopefully, the movie will come out and then they'll be like, we really need her for Batwoman, and they'll finagle something and she'll show up eventually.
I think my only guess,
at least it will force them not to immediately jump into the Renee Kate romance. We can just set Kate up.
Which is good.
If there's a silver lining to this, it's let's just set Kate up in her own show first. But hopefully at some point, it would be good to bring her in. Because didn't they also already say that the Question was going to be in the show? So like they're already bringing Vic Sage in, I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a previous
I believe.
announcement? So, I mean, like, they know where they want to go with this. They're not fooling anybody. Like, oh, we're just going to bring in the Question, but
hopefully
hopefully
it's not a Gotham situation where...
Well, yeah, right? Where it's like...
We really want to do this, and then...
he's the Question. Well, he's not really the Question.
He's an inspiration. Yeah, fuck it. Jesus. Part of me gets it a little bit about the smaller characters, because I think when you're writing these movies... You put these characters in because maybe they haven't been portrayed elsewhere, and so it's exciting to think about, like, you're going to be having the first version of this character in something, and so maybe that is a nice little extra piece that maybe gets a little tainted if it exists somewhere else. It's less unique.
I suppose.
That's the only way that I can kind of think.
And if we're coming up with what this logic is meant to be, that makes as much sense as anything else. But
I think the way I got that was... I was thinking if I was writing, say, a Batman movie, and I was like, oh, I'm going to put Ragman in there. Ragman doesn't exist anywhere.
Yeah.
And then I find out that it's like, just as I'm like getting that into production, suddenly this TV show wants to put it in. And I'm like, no, but this is a character that hasn't existed, and now people are going to be thinking about that character when they look at this new version of it, and maybe it's going to taint this new version.
And you know what? Generally speaking, I can kind of get that logic. Mm-hmm. What is funny to me, though, is like, for example, we've got Ray Palmer in the shows in Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
We debuted on Arrow. We showed up.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure, I'd say about 80% sure that he was meant to show up as Ted Kord. That he was supposed to be the Blue Beetle. Because that Atom suit couldn't shrink for a long time.
Yeah.
And is more like a techie kind. He's like a tech mogul kind of guy. And I have a suspicion they were going to, and Kord Industries was in the show. In the first, where they introduced Barry, he shows up in Star City, and they're investigating a break-in at Kord Industries. They were setting it up, and I have a feeling someone was like, we may do a Blue Beetle Booster Gold movie, you can't use Blue Beetle. But that movie wasn't even like happening.
No.
That bugs me. Like if two things are actually happening concurrently, then yeah, I kind of get it. But like when they're just like on speculation, like, but what if later we want to do it? It's like, well, just they're doing it now. Let them. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and
what if we make a Deathstroke movie? It's like you're not,
and it really doesn't make sense for the bigger characters who have already been represented. Because then I'm like, this is already existing. Like you can't. It doesn't matter anymore.
No, totally.
But anyways, last piece of news: Bendis reveals full Legion of Superheroes roster on late night.
Doesn't it look so cool? Also, I love that Seth Meyers is such a geek.
That he keeps putting on all these like comic book creators.
Have you ever seen as many comic book creators on late night as you have since Seth Meyers?
I've literally never seen these as like news pieces until he came on, and then suddenly he's constantly putting them on.
Yeah. When was the last time Jay Leno had a comic?
Well, that's the thing. Seth Meyers is the only late night show that I even watch because he has like really interesting writers.
Yes.
He has like actual like both sides political people. Like he takes newscasters and political representatives from both sides and actually has like intellectual conversations.
But he also doesn't do the stupid Jimmy Fallon thing of taking people who are objectively monsters and being like, isn't this fun to chat?
No. But he takes in like political people and it doesn't gun them down, but also doesn't just like give them a platform to say bullshit.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So which is really interesting. They talk about stuff that's not about it's. I don't know. I think he's great, and then he does these super nerdy.
He's a huge geek. Like he loves the stuff. So Bendis was on, and we had gotten like a couple of little like the character redesigns, but we got like the full group shot, and it looks awesome. And I mean, actually, weirdly, maybe it's just because I've done a great job like with my blocking and filtering of my feed. But I have seen minimal backlash to all of the race bending that they've done with the Legion. The Legion was almost entirely white, in the 60s, right? Because it's just, or definitely alien.
Yeah.
But there's just like lots of just like brown.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Tan, like
Orange, blue.
there's lots of diversity in that Legion of Superheroes thing, and guess what? They're all aliens anyway. It's fine.
So it doesn't fucking matter, yeah.
It doesn't matter even if they aren't aliens. But
yeah.
I've seen minimal backlash to it, which I'm hoping is just because people don't care. But it could also be because I've gotten very good at my blocking strategy.
It has. You're doing a pretty good job.
But yeah, it looks dope. I'm super pumped for it. I'm getting this series.
I like the
my dad and I have been
Superboy.
talking about it because he's a big...
Superboy looks great in this.
Well, and that is John Kent, Superboy. This isn't
okay.
young Clark. This is Clark's
Yeah.
son with Lois, who has been like artificially aged up to teenagehood by Jor-El
Yeah.
when they were off on their adventure. So yeah, we're getting like a new version of Superboy in the Legion of Superheroes.
Just dope. Yeah, it looks super fun. It looks like it's going to be...
The designs are dope. Of note, I really like the design for Triplicate Girl, which I think is pretty cool.
There's a ton of personality in this image.
And I like Matter Eater Lad. I like the look of Timberwolf, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Wildfire. Like, a bunch of them look really cool. I'm pretty pumped for this one.
Yeah, this looks great.
And frankly, if he brings the same kind of like sense of fun and color that he does to something like Dial H, let's say, because Dial H for Hero is like amazing. If he brings that kind of fun to the Legion, then it'll serve those characters like well. The Legion is the best when they aren't grimdark.
Yeah.
Grimdark Legion makes no sense. They have silly names. They're from a far future, and they're all like teenagers.
Yeah.
Like, making them like broody beyond the way teenagers are. Doesn't make sense.
No. I also like that. I just love that comic creators are now like getting a platform in general.
Yeah.
And just like the actual writers and stuff of things rather than just like celebrities.
Yeah. Well, it's like what talk shows used to be. Where it wasn't just,
But even still, you never really got creators like this.
But they would do the thing where it's like, here's like a zookeeper. And like, you got like more of those kind of weird filler kind of segment. I mean, even that's pejorative, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's it for the news this week, which means that we're on to the theme. I'm just getting really worked up about it.
Like, would you say that you're getting emotional spectrum?
I'm feeling very emotional spectrum.
The emotional spectrum.
The emotional spectrum. The emotional spectrum. The emotional spectrum.
The emotional spectrum. The emotional spectrum.
Ooh, Daddy made an emotional spectrum.
Oh, Daddy made an emotional spectrum kid.
Uh-oh, I made an emotional spectrum.
I really hope we get to talk about the emotional spectrum.
Oh my god, the emotional spectrum, is that what it is?
That's my emotional spectrum.
I already did that.
Oh, well.
That was the first one I did.
Well, whatever. I'm cycling back around. There's only so many. Yeah, this is otherwise known as the emotional electromagnetic spectrum. It's it's the emotions and colors that power the different Lantern Corps in DC.
Mm-hmm.
So we just want to kind of blow it wide open. We're talking about all of the different Lantern Corps, and we got lots of questions.
Yeah, a lot of
really like
new residents,
dogpiled on these questions,
and a lot of discussion that happened this week.
Yes. Some discussion online,
Some fights.
Yeah, and really, that's what we want.
Yeah. I just want you.
We want you to pick fights. We want a winner and a loser. We don't want middle ground.
I just want to know that the fights are about us.
Well, yes, I would prefer if they
fight for our love.
A little bit less about the content,
more
about who we deem is right.
Yeah, or just like who loves us the most.
Yeah, and there are different ways you can prove that. Gifts, subscribe to our Patreon, buy our merch, send 5-star reviews,
blood sacrifice.
Spam tweet the Vancouver Podcast Festival and tell them to bring us down.
Oh yeah. That's the closest legitimate thing that we could be involved with.
At Van Podfest, I think, is the...
Yeah, I don't have the time in my day to become the founder or manager of another festival in another city. So we should, if you guys could do that for us, it would be great.
Yeah, but at any rate, we'll remind you who all to harass at the end of the episode.
Yeah,
let's get to the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So to be able to do that, we have to go to Facebook.
Going to the face and the book. Going to the Facebook.
First question comes from Adam Upper.
I hardly know her.
Thank you. Hacha! Try the veal.
Waka waka.
Be here all week.
Hiya, hiya, hiya.
Chip your waitress. Waka waka. Adam Upper. I barely know her.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's one of the only ones that I can really do.
Here, I can do one.
Mm-hmm.
This wordy birdie, emotional spectrum.
Adam Upper. I barely know her.
Oh yeah, I was about to. I knew it wasn't gonna happen. Oh wait, here I can do this one. Hiya!
I was just about to go. Adam Upper.
Oh wait, I got one more.
Okay. Adam Upper.
No, I can't. I can't do it. I'm gonna mess with it. What did he ask?
Adam Upper.
This has become the longest drop in the history of all of our
It's
drops.
Adam Upper, and I am Scrooge. Oh! Still got it, Muppets. Still kept it Michael Caine.
That was nice. That was really good. Yeah. No, I showed those Muppets just want a penny's worth. What did Adam ask?
You, son!
What? Jesus Christ!
What day is today?
Go down to the shop, buy the biggest goose in the window, but then walk home through the alley. For those of you at home, Richard has fully fallen off his chair.
Oh god! Oh my god! Oh, this is good. That was god damn. Oh my god, that was really good. What we're doing?
Yeah, what did Adam ask?
Oh yeah, that's what we were doing. Adam asks, how many?
No, my God, please.
How many colors / emotions are there now?
Sure.
How many are there? Which corpse would you guys want or / think you'd be in? So first, how many are there, and which?
Even with an S on the end. Otherwise, you're talking about a cadaver.
How many corpses?
How many corpses
would we want to be in?
Sure. Well,
It really depends on who they are.
Let's just list them. Can you name them?
Fear.
Yeah. Which is which color?
Yellow.
Yes.
There's indigo.
Yeah.
Which is
Compassion.
compassion. I was trying to think of the word.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. Obviously green.
Which is?
Will.
Yep.
Blue.
Yep. That shouldn't be the bit you aren't sure about. Just naming colors, you'll be fine. It's the what they are that's the hard bit. Is red?
No, that one's anger, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rage. Yeah. Blue is
I don't know.
hope.
Oh yeah.
You got orange.
I thought that'd be black. Obama. There is a black though.
There is, but it's not Obama.
It's
The
death.
emotion is not Obama.
It's death.
It's death. Yeah.
Yeah. It should be orange if you know what I mean.
Purple
Huh?
is love.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And orange
Regret.
is greed.
Oh yeah.
And then white.
Is right.
No. We've come so far as a podcast.
Have we?
Well, I'm trying.
White is the only true emotional color.
No. If black is death, then white is... Actually, this isn't a good slogan either. White is...
I don't know. Yeah, no.
White
Say
is
it.
life. White is life. And then recently introduced as part of the invisible spectrum, ultraviolet, which is, I think, like kind of like self-destructiveness or like shame, like that.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that exist.
Pull it closer. You're so quiet.
I'm right up against it.
I don't know. It just feels like you're like in another room.
Check.
Yeah, it's better.
Where's my snake?
Jesus Christ.
What core would you want to be part of all of those listed?
I would like to be in blue.
Okay. Now, is that because you like the emotion, or do you think you just have a nice time in that core, or
I like the expectation.
of hope? Do you think you're hopeful enough for the blue core?
Yeah.
I'm not. What's the despair core?
Black? I told you, as much as you want to be, you're never going to be black.
I'd be part of the emo core. What's the color of heartbreak?
Purple? No.
What's the color of a sunset?
My heart bleeds no more.
Apparition.
Oh my god. Yeah, if you wanna get more of Dr. Emo, just go to our Patreon.
Yeah, that's a double dose. So blue core, you want to be part of the
That, or I want to be yellow.
fear,
Yeah,
right?
because if I can't bring hope, then I want to bring despair.
Yeah, I mean, even just saying that, I'm pretty sure would disqualify you from the blue core.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because you're assuming that there is a situation in which hope wouldn't be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's true. Yeah, I have high hopes for it though.
Never mind, you're back in.
Yeah,
You made it.
yeah. Because if I didn't make it, I'd burn them to the ground.
I don't know which one I would want to be in as as a member of a core. Like, I guess the Green Lanterns, because at least there's some structure. Like, they have an actual setup.
Okay,
Some
yeah.
of the other ones are pretty ad hoc. The Indigo Tribe is like basically you're put in there by force.
Oh,
like, I
really?
don't think I really want to be part of that. It's tough to be an Orange Lantern because if you get the ring, but there's already an Orange Lantern, like you basically have to fight to the death because there can only be one. Because you're
Sorry, what
green.
did you just say?
Yeah, like Highlander.
There could only be one.
You have to quickening the other the other Orange Lanterns because your greed is so strong that like you can't share it with anyone. So, but I guess once that fight is over and you're the only one, then that's all right, and you can just make a core of orange constructs to keep you company.
Orange.
Maybe orange because I'd technically be by myself.
All by myself. Do you wanna be?
Yeah, I think technically I'd want to be green, but orange might be interesting.
It's not easy being green.
Nice. Well, but we're here to find a rainbow connection.
Oh,
Baby!
I'm back,
Did I
baby.
tell you that my daughter says it that way?
Mm-hmm.
She's got like a little doll, and we go like, "Oh, who's that?" And she goes, "Baby."
And Brendan just look at you.
She's a podcast baby. She
She can't help it.
she's listening to Zooks all the time.
Number one, fuck, baby.
Oh no, Jesus!
She says it. It's fine.
No, it's not. But yeah, those are our answers. Richard wants to be hope, and I want to be.
I want to be hope or destruction.
Destruction's not an emotion.
Well, yeah, but
Or do you mean like ultraviolet, like the self-destructive, like shame?
oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see you being a shameful lantern.
Shame.
Yeah, sure.
Shame. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Next question comes from Chad Bolkman.
Bogle.
It's another paragraph from Chad.
I think this is your favorite drop.
It is, but I think it's one of the originals.
I mean the part after we say Bogle.
Oh, you mean where I tear him
where
down?
you shit on how he's written this question.
Yeah. Of course. All right. How many question marks are in this? Jesus. Actual question. Okay, Doc. Let's let your blackest night love shine. That's going to be challenging. How do you interpret the origins of the entities? From images, it's heavily implied that some have basis in Judeo-Christian beliefs. Predator from Adam and Eve, Ophidian from Satan in the Tree of Life, Butcher from Cain and Abel's story, Odara from the Flood, Proselyte from Christ. How do you view their origins? Where did the entity come from before entering the DCU?
Right. So, I mean, the bigger part of this is the idea that not only do each of these colors are they attributed to an emotion or powered by an emotion, and that emotion is like the collective, all of that emotion in the universe, basically. Yeah. But in addition to that, there are what are called entities, emotional entities, that are sentient beings composed of that energy that can sort of take hosts and imbue power and sort of channel the power of that part of the spectrum. So for the Red Lanterns, for Rage, it's the Butcher, which is sort of the form of a bull.
I am the Butcher. Felt like.
Are they all going to have this voice?
I don't know.
Yeah. Ophidian. Ophidian is like a sort of snake form. That's the orange lantern, orange light one.
Yeah.
Parallax is the yellow fear entity. Ion is the entity of will. Adara is the entity of hope. Proselyte is the one for indigo, for compassion. The Predator is the entity of love, for the Star Sapphires, for the violet core. And then the entity is the white life entity. And in Blackest Night, when they're talking about these entities, yeah, like Bokelman said, there's all these panels where, as they're describing like the origins, they're basically saying each of these things existed from the first moment they could.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time someone took a life, that's rage.
Oh, okay.
And so they're like the image, the panels all basically, try to line it up with these sort of biblical, like beginning
that's
times
interesting.
Kind of things, like Cain and Abel,
Yeah.
like that sort of thing. I mean, but we know from the history of the DC universe that, like, the biblical things aren't literally the first things that ever happened in the universe.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there is still, like, a Judeo-Christian God, but there are also other gods. Other things happened, like, in advance. The Malthusians have been around longer than other things. Even though we learned that life originates on Earth. That's the big revelation of Blackest Night. I always read it as being more like a metaphor than saying, literally, when Cain killed Abel, the Butcher was born.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I still read it, is that it's taking something we recognize as meaning the first instance of these things, right? Just from literature or mythology or whatever. And then attributing that. I mean, obviously, design-wise, making Ophidian a snake, and, like, you could be like, the snake in the garden, there's a snake in the there must be... I mean, we're also the ones reading and writing and drawing these comics, so, like, where are we drawing our influences from, too? I never read it as being literally that when those biblical events happened, those things came into existence. I always read it as more of a metaphor, implying that when this happened, this type of thing, or this emotion was felt for the first time, that's when these beings sprung to life.
Yeah.
I think that's how I still read it, and I think that's the way that makes the most internal sense. Again, it's comics, we're dealing with lots of high concept stuff, and lots of conflicting mythologies, different gods and pantheons and histories and sci-fi and all of these things. We've got to reconcile all of it somehow, and I think trying to fit those, like, the biblical mythos into the actual chronology of the DC universe is a mistake.
Yeah.
I think it's better as more, like, conceptual than trying to say, like, on this day in this year, Eden, or, like, whatever, right? Like, so, I mean, as far as the entities are concerned, that's sort of how I view that. Now, by that token, that would mean that the instant there was any life, that's where the entity, the life entity, would have sprung into existence. Which again, in Blackest Night, they say it started on Earth. So whatever that form was, whatever that life was, if it was just a bacteria or if something sprang into existence fully formed with a sentience, like the Malthusians or whatever, whatever that was, that would have been, I guess, the moment that the life entity existed, I would say.
Yeah.
There's an implication in Blackest Night that Necron existed pre the emotional spectrum, pre the light.
Oh, wow.
There's a little bit of a paradox in there where it's like, how could death exist
before life?
But I think even that you can take with maybe a grain of salt, that maybe it's not 100% literal. That maybe the idea is that his logical exercise as an aspect of death, as a being from this sort of like purgatory dimension, is that if life sprang into existence, that means there was a point where there was no life. I'm going to return it to that. Make it as you know what I mean? It's not that he as death or as an aspect of death existed first, but it's that if there is a predating event to life existing, then he would have to be the agent to return you to that state, basically.
Well, that's...
return the universe to that state, rather.
That reminds me a little bit of Supernatural.
What's happening?
Where...
You say like the Reaper says one day he's got to reap God.
Yeah, where he basically says like, he's like, we've been around for so long that neither of us knows who came first.
Yeah.
And he says like, but everything has to die, and so one day I'll even reap God.
Yeah. Well, and I think in Sandman, in Neil Gaiman's Sandman...
Oh, yeah.
Where death is one of the endless. She says something to the effect of like, "I'm the one who puts all the chairs on the tables and locks the door when I leave the universe," kind of thing. Like, there is an element of that in there too.
I love that.
Yeah,
it's really cool. All right, let's move on. We're leaving Facebook and heading on over to Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah,
stuck it.
It's pretty decent.
Yeah.
And that'll hold you for a week at least.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride off that.
Riding high.
Yeah. Feel the adrenaline.
For once in my life.
Feel the need for speed.
All right, easy. This is too much. Okay, gotta get back down there.
Bad trailer.
What?
It just looked like a recruitment video for like the Navy.
What, are you talking about Top Gun?
Yeah.
Oh. I think what I've heard best is that...
It doesn't even look like there's a plot.
Yeah, the plot is we put actual Tom Cruise inside of an actual jet and had him fly it.
I know, but that's why we have Mission Impossible.
Yeah. But they didn't...
I do like that there seems to be a new beach volleyball scene, though.
Which is hilarious, because I think he actually looks better than he did the first time.
Yeah, probably, actually.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Those fucking volcano souls really, get you buffed.
Well, yeah, when you're on top of the Scientology pile, it works out pretty well.
Yeah. It's the original pyramid scheme.
Yep.
All right, first question comes from Talking Superman, who asks, I never totally understood why the entity for Violet is the Predator. Why such a violent creature for love?
Sure.
Have you ever been in love?
Well, the Predator is one of these interesting... So the emotional spectrum and the entities, all this stuff, that's like the last 15 years of comics. That's not how it always was, or 20 years of comics.
For sure.
It's not how it always was. Some of these things were things before that then Jeff Johns was like, and let's rope this in, and now you're part of this. This is the mythos.
Yeah.
The Predator is one of those. The Predator used to be back when Star Sapphire was just Carol Ferris was, or when Star Sapphire was like a villain or whatever. The Predator was meant to be this like male altered persona that also inhabited her, that would make her do violent things and stuff like that. And then the Predator got its own body for a bit and was like obsessed with Carol. It was like doing things for Carol, but was obsessed, kind of thing.
Carol.
And then when they were making all of these entities and that Star Sapphire, that became the Violet core. That was love. They're powered by love. Great. And Jeff Johns was like, what is something else I can use from this mythos? Like, the Predator, that used to be part of Carol. That kind of sounds like the possession thing that he was doing with Parallax and Hal, has a lot of similar sort of elements. So the Predator became then the emotional entity for the Violet Core, for love.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say off the top, I don't have an answer, but there are some things you can do like as a logical exercise. So the Star Sapphire core, generally speaking, is all women.
Mm.
There have been some men to have used those rings or to have been even inducted into the core, but generally speaking, all women.
Okay.
And founded by the Zamorans, who are all female descendants of the Malthusians, like the Guardians, but they're all female.
Yeah.
The whole thing is built around a female membership. So when you look at that, you say, okay, now, like, what is that saying? Is that saying that, like, women are better at love? I don't want to get into whether or not that stuff is right, but if we just take things at face value, that, like, the members of this court are all women, that's kind of what it seems to be saying. So then why is their emotional entity this male violent thing? And I think there's an element in the comics of it maybe making the argument that the male version of love is horrifying and obsessive and possessive and twisted.
Yeah.
That's, of course, like, kind of ridiculous. There are lots of men who love well. There's lots of examples of it in the comics. There's also examples of the opposite, right? But I think if you're looking at, like, how things line up, I think there's like there's an element of obsession that the mythology seems to be saying is maybe male, or that love can take you too far. And I think that maybe the least offensive thing you could say that it's pitching is that women can temper that better than men.
Okay.
That if the impulse of letting yourself just go with the emotion of love is basically ends up going somewhere horrible, saying that women do a better job of keeping that at bay. I mean, I don't think I subscribe to that, but if we're just taking the evidence as it is, right? Like, it's a male entity. It's the only thing that can be, like, the only thing that can sort of supersede a Star Sapphire's own will is this all-powerful entity, like, taking them as a host. That says to me something.
Yeah.
The fact that he takes a male form. When the Predator inhabits a male body, I think it's a guy named Abraham Point, that guy who was sort of lightly stalking someone, very aggressively starts taking possession of that relationship. Again, I don't actually subscribe to or like basically any of those points, but I think if you're just looking at what has been written, that seems to be the closest thing to an argument I can derive from it. But again, because these things have existed for so long, it's not like they started from scratch and said, what would we want in a entity of love? They had to say, well, I mean, they didn't have to. They could have made something new. But Jeff Johns chose to use the Predator because it has a history with Star Sapphire. And the way to sort of reconcile it is just to say this male entity of love is the twisted inverse of what this female core stands for. It's not super great. It's pretty problematic. But that's the closest thing I can get to, like, a logical kind of explanation of it.
Totally.
That's not official. It's not from DC. That's just me kind of parsing out what I've read. But I think that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Next question comes from our favorite spacey, sexy texter, Cosmic DM.
Sliding right in.
Sliding deep in.
Okay.
Spitting out first and sticking it in. Cosmic DM.
Yeah, we got it.
Just living her up.
No, we're all right. We're
just,
okay. You can probably just read his question.
Kissing it first and then putting it in.
Probably just move on.
Oh, was that a finger? All right.
Whatever he read, whatever wrote. Yeah, he got me all flustered.
Oh. You predator. Cosmic DM asks, is there rhyme or reason why the colors were associated with the specific emotions? Or did it just happen to line up with green equals will, red equals rage, and so on and so forth?
I mean, it's not completely random. Some of them I think are like intuitive.
Yeah.
Right? Like we know green is will. It's always been will, even before the emotional spectrum existed. It was just like green light up will, or like you have willpower, you can you're a Green Lantern.
Totally.
We know that Sinestro for years used a yellow ring. So it's like, what's the opposite of will? Fear. Great, that's an easy one. Yellow's fear now. Plus, cowardice. There's already an association. Red as rage makes
the most sense.
Seeing red, it's already in our consciousness. Purple as love is not necessarily just a color. I think we'd go maybe more pink than anything. They're often drawn in the comics a bit more pink to help distinguish them from the indigo color.
Yeah.
But it's Star Sapphire, it's Carol and Hal have this long relationship. The idea of making that love falls into place pretty easily. The ones that remain, orange as greed, blue as hope, indigo as compassion.
Not green as greed, but yeah.
Well, green's taken.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, we're the forest green corps.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. Give them another 10 years.
We're the cerulean blue corps.
Yeah. It's like what happened with Pokemon, basically.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. We're the ice blue corps. We're different.
We're Jade.
Well, Jade is a character.
Well, of course.
Those ones, I will say, kind of random, like, assignations, other than the cool colors tend to be good, and the warm colors tend to be bad. So then, by that token, it's like, well, what's the color left? Orange, greed, go there. I think when you start, like, just dropping little things into place, you go, like, oh, that's kind of just where they'd end up. What could you really switch up without it really fucking things up? And it's like blue and indigo, that's it.
Yeah.
But even at that, be like, well, we have love over here. Maybe compassion should be right next to it. So even at that, it's like, when you follow the logic, they kind of just fit where they should go. Now, the place where that falls apart a little bit is that we have not covered every emotion.
Well, that's when...
Not even all the primary emotions. You'll notice that this spectrum is missing happiness, sadness,
Well, that's when
disgust, if we're going by the Inside Out model.
Next year when the CMYK spectrum comes out.
Oh, God. The Pantone.
I'm cyan.
Magenta.
Yeah. See, you know it's coming.
Yeah, and then just yellow.
Yeah.
Just regular yellow.
Yeah, because fuck it.
But you know what I mean?
Because I'm part of both of them.
Of the ones that we are naming, I think they make sense with which colors they are.
I think so.
But if you're saying, like, name a bunch of emotions, some of the ones you would name first are, like, do not have core, do not have colors.
Yes.
I don't know if there's a question about this later on, but I do remember reading a thing or hearing a thing that when they were initially coming up with the idea, they were actually thinking of it more as like what would they call it? Like a motivational spectrum. It's like what motivates you to act?
Yeah.
Do you act on rage? Do you act on greed? Do you act on will? Do you act on hope?
Yeah.
That is why some of those things like happy, like no one really acts on happiness or sadness.
No.
You act on, you could make the argument that, like, if you're chasing that feeling of happiness, maybe that's greed.
Yeah.
Or I'm determined to be happy.
That's called
addiction. So that's will. Or, I'm afraid of not being happy. That's, So they were making it more like a motivational spectrum, but it's cleaner and rolls off the tongue more easily, and it's a slightly easier thing to grasp to just call it an emotional spectrum. But I think I remember hearing that was, like, the idea behind it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. The next question comes from Roberto Rubio. Rubio. Oh!
As soon as I saw that name, I was like, I know what I'm going to do.
I know. I've been waiting for it, and you took my thunder.
Yeah.
Panaman.
What does Rubio ask?
Yes. It's really just about Captain Hook. The Doctor's least liked Green Lantern dual wielded 2 different colored rings, the green and red rings.
Yeah.
What other color combinations do you believe are possible?
Right. Guy Gardner. The Lantern I like the least. He has dual wielded green and red rings, and actually I think it's called Green Lantern Lost Army or something like that. I can't remember what the actual title of the book is, something like that. It actually changes his look. That he's basically got his Green Lantern look, but where the trim would be white, it's all red.
Oh, okay.
So he actually has like both colors going on at the same time. I think what I wanted that book to do was...
I call him Captain Christmas.
Well, kind of. He did look very Christmassy. I think what I wanted that book to do was maybe spend a bit more time exploring, like, what does that actually mean? Like, what is the emotion or the... I think what I wanted was, like, the emotional equivalent of secondary colors. If we mix these things, what is that? You know?
I think if you mix it, just comes out brown.
Is will and rage, like, spite? You know what I mean? Like what? Like, not that that's what he should have been, but like,
It's
I
brown.
think,
That's what it is.
I think. Well, yeah, because they're it's true. I think I wanted them to explore that a little bit more, and it didn't really. I think Guy has also wielded a red and a violet ring at the same time, which is a really weird one because they're like super incompatible. The idea is like near the center of the spectrum is the most stable. And then as you work your way out, like love can be pretty unpredictable and rage can be pretty unpredictable. And that's sort of the rough idea.
Yeah, you wouldn't want somebody to hold both love and rage.
Yeah, and I think he did briefly.
That feels...
Which is a weird one. What are ones that I...
We get a crime of passion.
Well, yeah, I mean, really, that's what... Yeah, like if you wield both of those, it's second-degree murder.
Yeah. I love you, and if I can't have you, no one will.
Yeah, and then we're back to that, DC's male version of love crap.
Exactly.
Can you think of one that you think would be an interesting combination, something you would like to see?
Well,
like dual wielding?
I mean, you get the most righteous combination, which is blue and green.
Well, yes, especially because the Blue Lantern... its proximity to a green will supercharge the green. But on its own, it's relatively weak because hoping for things doesn't make them happen. You need the will to act.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, having a blue and a green makes you like Super Lantern. So definitely, that one is kind of like that's sort of a no-brainer.
I feel like you could have a very compassionate and heartwarming story if you combined the black and the purple.
Love and death?
Yeah, where you're just like putting people out of their misery.
Oh, Jesus. So wait, is it compassion or love? Do you want indigo and black?
Oh, well, I mean, I feel like that becomes compassion through love, right?
Let's say indigo and black.
Yeah, okay.
That's pretty...
Then you just get like... I mean, that could be a very heart-wrenching story.
The weird thing with the black one is that with the exception of Black Hand, who sort of was set up as like the entity of death, no one that wears a black ring is really in control of themselves.
Oh, no. That's true.
They're all like resurrected. Or sort of under the thrall of Black Hand or Necron or something like that. So that's kind of an interesting...
But maybe with that
factor.
ring, you would get more control of your faculties.
Yeah, right, yeah, interesting. I think I would be interested in seeing... I think one that would make sense, like, would be like a greed and fear one. Because I think those are tied together, you know?
Yeah, I would think so.
I think you can... There's some story potential in there.
I think greed is based off of fear, right? So...
Well, yeah, I think they can feed off each other and things like that. In the way that blue and green can maybe make each other stronger. I won't just say better across the board, but maybe greed and fear can sort of feed on, or maybe it makes them weaker. Like, who knows? But again, as a story thing, I think I'd be interested in seeing that. I do wish someone would go back to the idea of, those like, what are the secondary colors of the emotional spectrum? Not literally what is the color, but like, what are we trying to say as a mythology about emotion if those are the two things this person embodies?
For sure.
I think that's something I'd be more interested in.
Yeah, totally. All right, do you want to move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Next question comes from Jeff Whaley, who asks,
Hello, Joe.
oh my god.
That's whale talk.
Oh, I know.
It's whale
I know. Jeff asks.
Or sorry, it could be this too. Jeff!
Yeah.
I'm just wailing.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Jeff asks, Red Lanterns have Dex Star. What household pet would the other colored lanterns have?
Yeah. So just context again, if you haven't heard the previous episode where we talked about it, Dexstar is an actual like Earth house cat whose like owner is murdered and then like lives on the street and then
Oh god, yeah.
put in a bag,
Yeah,
abused and like tossed over a bridge.
Yeah.
It's like so like has a lot of trauma. It feels so much rage. This little house cat that a Red Lantern ring finds it and inducts it into the core and basically makes it semi-sentient. And basically becomes kind of like a pet of like Atrocitus, the leader of the Red Lantern Corps. It's an actual house cat. It's not like an alien that looks like a cat or anything like that.
Wow.
So if the Red Lanterns have like a pet basically in the form of Dexstar, what type of pet do you think would fit with the other Corps? And I will mention, and it did come up online, it's not a canon thing, but someone on 4chan or Reddit or something like that created what they called, I think,
The Corgi?
Hope Corgi, which is like a Blue Lantern Corgi.
Yes.
Just very adorable and cute.
I would think that like an eagle would be Hope.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, right. Something that can fly.
Patriotic, like feeling, yeah.
Well, to some, yeah, I mean, an eagle is not the universal, like, a bird of countries, but yes, I know what you mean. Certainly something about the freedom of flight.
A bird, yeah.
Aspirational. Yeah, definitely. I can see that.
I'd like to see an elephant with the...
Okay, again, the question is, like, I think pets.
Hey,
And you started with eagle and elephant.
Okay, both those things could be pets.
Can they?
You've been to a circus.
That's not a house.
For some people it is.
Your first two are so not pets.
I think
An eagle I am letting pass, because maybe somewhere. But not an elephant.
people keep elephants. I went to school with this girl from Africa, and they had a pet lion in Africa.
Okay, fine. Point taken. But in the spirit of the question, what are unassuming animals maybe that would belong to different Corps?
Okay. I want greed is a hamster.
Oh, you can right because they just eat for fucking ever.
Yeah, until they kill
You
themselves.
can
Yeah,
make the argument for dogs and stuff too.
but
They want all your attention.
but they're
affection.
loyal.
They ever eat. Well, yeah, I guess that's true. They're a little too selfless to greed. Fair enough. Fair.
That's like love, if anything, really.
That's true. Like a Labrador would be a really good one for like the Star Sapphires.
Yeah, I mean, you could just do dog breeds, really. I mean,
That's true too.
like Rage could be like a little Chihuahua. These things are so angry.
Right.
You could do like, let's see
I
here.
think Hope is a wiener dog. I know there's the Corgi, but I think Hope is a wiener dog. He hopes his legs would be longer.
It's similar to a corgi.
Actually, yeah. The exact same logic.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think.
Fear is basically every dog.
I think I think a rabbit would be a pet that would feel a lot of fear. Now the converse thing is like, could it invoke that fear?
Potentially. That's how they get like.
As soon as it starts acting not the way it's meant to, I think that would freak people out. But I think I'd put maybe a rabbit with the Sinestro Corps.
Mm-hmm.
It's so afraid, or gets backed into a corner, and then like if something flips in the rabbit, and it actually activates like the fight trigger instead of.
Oh
flight,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's so like backed up. Like I think you could do a story thing there with a rabbit. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. Compassion. Ooh. Goldfish.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. I think they know.
Yeah. They've got such short lives.
Yeah.
A life so meaningless could only have compassion for others.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Are we missing any colors?
I don't think we've done will. I don't think we've done the greens.
Oh, no, that's tough. There's very few animals that have willpower.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say a cat.
But yeah, that's the
Cats are some of the most willful, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for Dextar's, like, specific... Like, I mean, cats just literally do their own thing. I would be tempted to say that, but...
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I definitely... Chinchilla.
I mean, for the comedy of the look,
Yeah.
let's do it.
That's how I do most of my decisions.
Yeah.
I like that. Fear could also be a hedgehog
Oh,
because it uses its fear as a defense mechanism.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. I like that question.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, you know, we hit all of the pets. Rabbits, cats, ducks, elephants.
Yeah. Eagles.
Eagles.
Eagle. So good. Yeah. Just open up your mind, okay?
No, I don't want to.
Think about North American pets and that's it.
The only kind of pets that...
The right way.
I mean, I don't even like North American pets. I have a cat kind of against my will.
I feel like you're more like the cat's personal assistant.
The cat really loves me because the cat and I are similar in that we want very little to do with each other. The cat recognizes that and it's like, are you also a cat? And then, like, the cat likes me way more than my wife and it drives her nuts.
It's because she wants
She's
it
like,
too
I'm
much.
the one that wants it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's not a cat. That's
So you're too keen. You can't be one of us.
No. All right, next question comes from Raspberries Reviews, the kind you find on a second-hand podcast.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I liked it.
That was
That
nice.
was good.
Who asks, I have always wanted to know why sadness hasn't been shown as part of the emotional spectrum. We just kind of brought that up.
Mhm.
If the Sinestro Corps members are chosen because they can spread fear, why is there no Corps who can spread sadness? Though, thoughts, and what color would you give sadness?
Right. So, like I said, I think the reason is that the initial idea was that it's more like about motivation.
Yeah.
What are the emotions that motivate you to act? And sadness isn't really that kind of emotion. Even though it's like a big emotion, it's not necessarily like a motivator.
Yeah.
Almost my definition.
Mm-hmm.
But if we were to imagine a core that was like built and fueled by sadness, by like depression, what color would you give it?
Gray?
I mean, if we're just trying to pick a color that is just totally not used,
Yeah.
gray would work. I think if you listen back to our episode of the Lantern Cast from forever ago, I think we might have, at that point, said gray was like no emotion.
Yeah.
But I actually think gray is kind of like, it's kind of funny if it's sadness because it's also literally like
clouds
hung between life and death.
Yeah,
where it's
it's
like,
true.
You're living, but are you?
Yeah, exactly.
There's something kind of funny about the combo.
Hitting a little too close to home for you there?
I know what I am. I'm a 30-something-year-old with all of the privilege and good luck in the world, who, like everyone else in our age range, has mental health issues.
And I'm not taking advantage of all of the opportunity provided.
Yeah. I mean, if we were doing the thing where we were like breaking out like the paint chips or something, I think it would be very easy to carve out a shade of blue that would make sense as sadness or
Yeah, I
something.
mean, because it's always...
Doesn't necessarily make sense in like the order that they all come in, but just as a color that invokes sadness, it does.
I'm feeling blue.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah, I think gray is probably the like a cloudy day, like Eeyore.
Exactly. Oh
Eeyore.
dear.
is the entity of the Sadness Core.
I'm just gonna go kill myself now.
I mean, come on. He didn't go that far.
Have you watched the movie recently? The new
Christopher Robin?
Yeah.
Oh,
He basically does that. He basically like talks about committing suicide.
I love all of those like memes that point out that like in the 60s, Winnie the Pooh had it right, which is like you have a sad friend, you don't have to drag them out to things. Just say if you can hang out if you want.
Yeah.
You know, just let them know that you're there. It's like somehow Winnie the Pooh in the 60s had like a better grip on mental health than like a lot of things now. It's like, yeah.
I don't want to go out. It's
like,
not grammable.
You know, they're just like, all right, that's fine. You're okay, Eeyore. We'll help you find a new house.
Oh, I don't need a house. I'm not deserving of one.
You're right, Eeyore.
Now remember, down the street. not across.
No. Why? Not like that.
I would commit suicide, but the rope keeps coming off.
Oh, Jesus.
The branch keeps snapping.
Actually, do you know a movie that is like literally like that?
What?
Is do you remember Man in the Iron Mask?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
about like the late career Three Musketeers, and Porthos
Yes.
gets really depressed and tries to kill himself, and he pulls a whole barn down because he's so fat. Like it breaks the beam that he's trying to hang himself from, and a whole barn falls down.
Thinking back to your Three Musketeer days, are you?
You know,
You had that mustache, I
I
figured.
was in the Three Musketeers.
Yeah, well, I know.
As unnamed guy.
I know you wore that mustache like you were one of the mains.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, you gotta lead by example.
Well, of course. All right. Next question comes from Batzam.
That's Sam!
Who asks, no question. Oh, well, then never mind. Moving on.
Our
But-
vision is based on questions.
Yes, exactly.
There's nothing else there.
Yes, so the question part. No questions, but could you please talk about the greatest lantern of them all, Larfleeze?
Right. So Larfleeze is the orange lantern.
Okay.
The only one. Because there is only one.
There can only be one.
I mean, kind of just by the nature of it. Because again, like I said, it enhances and empowers your greed to the point that you cannot share the power.
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
So he's killed basically all of the other Orange Lanterns there ever were and taken over, and he keeps them. He even like kind of steals their essence, and he keeps them basically alive in the form of just constructs. He has like a core, but they're all just constructs of the previous Lanterns he's killed. And one of the main ones is called Glomulus. He's in there. He's a very kind of cute, sort of egg-shaped with many arms sort of character. And some of those constructs are like semi-sentient even. It's
Weird.
The Orange Lantern has a very particular kind of thing that way. But Larfleeze is basically so dangerous, and the orange light is so dangerous that the Guardians were like, if you stay on this planet, Okara, and you never leave, and we will basically abandon the Vega sector. Green Lanterns won't patrol there.
Oh, wow.
We won't fly through there.
Wow.
You will never see us if you stay there. And they sort of strike this deal, which is why the Vega sector is like kind of lawless. There's this like evil empire called the Citadel, the planet Okara, where Larfleeze also is where like Starfire was sent and like tortured and
Jesus.
trained as like a warrior, and like Tamaran is I think in the Vega sector. At the very least, it gets taken over by the Citadel. There's all this kind of like the Omega Men are these freedom fighters in that sector. It's lawless because the Green Lanterns don't patrol there because of this sort of truce thing. But yeah, Larfleeze is exceptionally powerful because he wields the entirety of the orange light for himself.
Wow.
He's not sharing it with 3,000 other people or anything like that. So he's very, very dangerous that way. He's been portrayed from anything from like really horrifyingly scary to very, very silly.
With a name like that.
Some of the silly side is like, you know, they did the Larfleeze Christmas special where he finds out about Christmas and he's like, I've got to find Santa. He's going to give me all the presents. Like,
That's really cute.
There's the other, silly is that he's, I mean, it's partly silly, partly kind of dangerous. But in Blackest Night, when they deputize members of the other corps, as soon as another orange ring flies off, Larfleeze is like, "Nope." He's like, "No," because he doesn't want there to be another Orange Lantern. It eventually finds Luthor, who is also like,
Yes.
what an embodiment of greed, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Or of avarice, Yeah, Larfleeze is funny because I would say they've never actually pinned down the best way to portray him. I kind of prefer the scary Larfleeze to the silly one. But, in the cartoon, the animated series is kind of silly. I think comics now tend more toward the silly than the dangerous. I think I prefer his earlier appearances, though. Yeah.
I like more of his earlier work.
I was reading Larfleeze before everyone else.
Why is your hipster surfer?
Don't worry about it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Michael, is that you?
Oh.
Michael, we've been trapped in this room for so long. Nobody's heard from us.
Chick, I know. I really like our time together, but I need to leave.
You need to leave? But we haven't even gotten to the traffic and weather.
Oh, let's go to the
It's Jack and Michael McDonald in the morning.
Yeah, we're going to meet up for the weather.
What a throwback.
Come on, Meatloaf.
I miss those guys.
Give me the weather.
Weather's pretty dope.
I'm sorry, that's your Meatloaf doing the weather?
Oh, sorry, they went to Meatloaf?
Yeah.
I know you couldn't understand what you're saying.
Going to Meatloaf for the weather.
Well, I would do
anything for rain. I'm glad that we're on the same page.
These forest fires under control. We looked at each other in the eyes and said the exact same words.
Yeah. So you know we're in love.
Our cycles are lined up.
This room is filled with blood. All right, moving on. The Dr. Z podcast is back after this quick break.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. You just have to go to audibletrial.com/DrDC and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. You can download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. You go to audible.com/DrDC to get started today. Now, why Audible? Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, and entertainers. I think the last time I mentioned that I was reading Jack White's Skystone. I was audibling Jack White's The Skystone. Now I've moved on to a thing that I loved as a kid, which is The Foundation by Isaac Asimov. It's one of the best pieces of science fiction ever created, and that's what I'm into on Audible right now. It's pretty amazing, but there's so much that you can listen to, thousands and thousands of selections. So, once again, you just go to audible.com/DrDC. You get a free audiobook with your 30-day trial membership. Audible.com/DrDC. And now, back to the show.
Hey, yo, we're back to the show, because what I'm meant to be will eventually be a memory of a time I tried so hard.
It started by sounding like Run DMC and immediately went to Linkin Park.
I only have so many rap references, and
wow.
Those are the only ones that doesn't have the N-word in it, so...
Haha!
Sorry, yeah, and not that. We're back! Hey!
Oh!
Hip-hop hooray! So it's the least hip-hop thing in the world. Hip-hop hooray!
Hip-hop hooray!
Yeah. That's even a little... It's a little too hip-hop.
That's too hip-hop?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you
That's
are
the
almost...
nicest thing anyone's ever said.
You are almost black. Never mind, I take it back. Because this is how I rap.
This is like when we did the diversity episode of the Dopecast.
Yeah, just two white guys, two like middle class white dudes.
We are experts.
Yeah, and somehow canceled. We are leaving Twitter and heading over to Instagram.
Now we go to Instagram, take some questions and
You had
answer
it.
them.
You're right there. You could have done it.
What? I always forget.
It's just gonna be like where everything's nice and no one's ever made.
Yeah.
All right. On Instagram, we get a question from Robbie's just this guy. Robbie's just a
Be cool, man.
yeah. Robbie didn't do it.
It's just this guy.
It's just this guy.
You can't prove that we know each other.
Look,
Maybe he decided to do it of his own volition. You ever think of that?
hey, I know I've been asking questions on this podcast and you all know me, but Robbie's just this guy.
Robbie didn't buy 4 feet of rope and a shovel on the same day as the same day in question.
Robbie puts on his pants just like every other guy, one leg at a time. Just when Robbie puts on his pants, he asks questions to Dr. DC.
That's right. And when you put your pants on, I want you to send us a question. Not about that, though, because...
No, I'd rather you do that with your pants off. Robbie asks, Robbie, you're a man after my own heart. Could Psycho Pirate utilize any Lantern Corps ring?
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
A mother's best friend.
Psycho Pirate is one of my favorite characters of yours.
Son's best friend is his mother. Psycho Pirate.
Sometimes mother lets me.
It's my dark passenger.
Jesus.
On the boat.
Just a reminder, the DC Comics version of Psycho Pirate is... he's got this thing called the Medusa Mask. And basically what it allows him to do is manipulate, sort of control and consume the emotions of other people. And since we're talking about the emotional spectrum, then yeah, this question is very interesting, which is, can Psycho Pirate use that to then take control of a lantern, or be able to use a lantern ring or whatever? I'm sure you could write a comic where it just, yes, explicitly does that. That's not...
But that hasn't been done.
It's not outrageous. But I think maybe the thing that I would expect to happen is that Psycho Pirate, again, is like, he kind of consumes emotions and he manipulates them in others. I would almost argue that he's got like a Scarecrow thing going on where maybe he can't really feel himself. Or he can't feel emotions himself. God damn it.
myself. And I want you to know.
I don't want anybody else.
When I think about you, I touch myself.
When I think about Yar, I touch my peg. Oh!
That voice was a little too close to...
Oh.
And then I should walk the streets in London.
No, Liam. I think I would maybe say that he's maybe got like a Scarecrow kind of thing going on, where because he is feeding and manipulating these emotions so much, he might be numb to them, which it would actually do the opposite. It would mean he is unable, completely incapable of wielding any of the rings. But could he manipulate people's emotions so they couldn't use their own rings? I think so. Given, varying power levels and amount of focus and, whatever other comic booky things are in there. I think you can write a story where the Psycho Pirate could disrupt someone's connection to their own ring, to their own core. That would make sense. But I think I'm on the side of Psycho Pirate being unable to use any of the rings. I think that's where I would go with that.
Or the sadness ring, if it existed.
Well, no, because you'd still have to feel that, though.
No, sometimes when you're so sad, you just feel numb.
Don't have to tell me. I've become so numb, I can feel you there. Chester.
Oh yeah, God, he was telling us so long.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's move on.
All right. Well, next question comes from ABC.
Brooks.
It's easy as 1, 2, 3.
Brooks.
It's easy as Do, Re, Mi.
Brooks.
ABC.
Brooks.
1, 2, 3.
Brooks.
Baby Brooks and me. Brooks. Brooks.
Brooks.
Brooks.
Brooks.
Brooks. Brooks. Brooks. Brooks. Brooks. Brooks. Brooks.
Brooks.
Brooks.
That is one of my favorite songs.
You keep saying that.
I love that one. I normally I'm usually the one that needs to be won over.
Yeah.
About the drops.
That's true.
But I really like that one.
ABC Brooks asks, how did you feel about the new 52 deaths of the avatars of the emotional the emotional colors?
Right. So the entities, the beings that we talked about before. There was a story in the New 52 called Lights Out. And the idea was that this being from a previous universe.
It's a game my uncle used to play with me.
No. That this being from a previous universe called Relic.
Relic Hunter.
He came from, in his time before the universe was destroyed and then Big Bang, reborn again. He said that
whole universe
they basically used all of those different, color spectrums to do everything. They built civilizations out of hard light. They were using it for everything, and they used it all up. But that the reservoir is finite. That there is a finite amount of these emotions to be used, and that is what destroyed their universe. That once you used it up, that's it. And he basically shows up in this universe. He somehow materializes, shows up, and says, "You people are morons. Listen to me, stop using your rings, you will destroy your own universe, blah, 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 blah." He says the emotional reservoir is running out, etc., 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 and it's beyond the source wall. And basically at the climax of this story, the emotional entities sacrifice themselves to replenish the emotional reservoir. Now, this is a story, there's two things here. All this emotional spectrum stuff is pretty new, and you got to give people credit of trying to find new things, expand the mythology, explore it in different directions. So, I don't begrudge anyone for trying this idea, but I don't think I like it. And I think a lot of Green Lantern fans don't like it. I know the Lantern cast didn't like it. And frankly, other than that story, and the fact that the entities were gone, you don't hear really any sort of reference to the emotional reservoir at all anymore. The only things that sort of tie it together is that you say, "Oh, Kyle Rayner, he went beyond the source wall and came back," or, where's Ion? Other than the fact that there was an absence, no one really references, hey, how's the reservoir doing? No one talks about it. We're sort of sweeping it under the rug. The Black Manta, claim the sea for black people kind of thing. We're just never mind.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Just I don't think I liked it. I think the thing I don't like about it is that to me it doesn't make sense, because it makes sense for the emotions to spring up from somewhere that they didn't always exist. But there will always be anger, and if it's meant to be the collective everything, the only way in which a sort of reservoir idea makes sense to me at all is if somehow the entire universe stops feeling rage, then maybe the red light goes out.
Mm-hmm.
If no one had any sort of drive or anything at all, then maybe the green light goes out. But to me, by their nature, they should be constantly fed and fueled by those emotions across the universe.
Yeah, but you don't have to put on the red light.
And the other half of that is that the people wielding the rings are typically the people that most embody those emotions anyway. And there's so many comics that demonstrate that they don't even need to use their lantern battery to recharge their own rings if they feel their own emotions strongly enough. So then what is that reservoir? You know what I mean? If they don't even need sometimes their own batteries, then how could it possibly run out? They're the people using it. Not everyone is using it. And if they can replenish their own, then there's really, I don't know. I just think there's too much comic evidence that undercuts the idea of the reservoir. So I don't begrudge them for trying to expand the mythos or doing something new or anything like that. I just don't know that it works, and I'm not sure what it's actually adding. Because if it's about, not using our rings too much or being, then like, how long do we do that for? Like, they're space cops. They got to use their rings, or, when do we have to revisit that it ran out again? Like, it's all this kind of stuff. I think it just brings up too many things that become continuity problems, basically, for me. Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. Well, let's leave Instagram and head on over to email.
Check the email.
Homer from a female.
Very nice.
Question comes from Jesse.
Jesse
from Of Cheek Pastries. Makes lots of food. Makes delicious treats for me. I wish I could cook.
It's been a long time.
It's been too long. You can tell.
It's been a while.
Since I've gone and fucked up this song again.
The cheap pastries
again. Puff asks, I have some questions in regards to the emotional spectrum and a possible dial dog.
Ooh.
Wait. Has it been explained in canon that this is the most viable manifestation for feelings? How do connections change or are impacted by such things as trauma or mental illness? And we've already talked a little bit about that. Has there been stories where intense trauma or mental illness was so powerful that it disrupted the emotional spectrum for everyone? Almost like a story that was used as an allegory for the emotional impact that mental health has on those that are bystanders of an emotional breakdown. Looking forward to hearing the conversation. We're talking about with the cat. I mean,
but that's on the micro level. I mean, part of this question is: has there ever been something that was that like rocked the entire universe's worth of emotion to its core? And I'm not sure that, other than the idea of Blackest Night, which is that by resurrecting all of these people that have emotional connections to the living, they made people feel their own emotions more intensely, so then the Black Lanterns could consume them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but that's not the same as like if everyone in the universe feels insane fear at the same time. That would like supercharge the Sinestro Corps and decimate the Green Lanterns like in an instant. Right? If there was just a thing, something, you know what I mean, like. That is a slightly different thing. I think that's kind of what Puff is asking about. That, I don't think there has been a thing. But it would be a really cool story idea.
Hell yeah.
Like, just something happens that is so impactful that it affects the entire spectrum. On a micro level, though, there are lots of examples of that. So I think there's there's versions of, like, I'm going to give an example from an animated movie. In Justice League Doom, which is the one that loosely adapts Tower of Babel, which is where Batman's contingency plans get stolen and used against the Justice League. In that animated film, what Batman's plan was for Hal is to make him fail, like to set up a situation in which he could only fail and douse him with Scarecrow fear toxin, so that he completely doubts his own ability and fears so much that he loses his ability to wield the Green Lantern ring.
Wow.
On an individual level, there are lots of examples of stories of disrupting a person's connection to a particular emotion. As far as I know, nothing that he's describing like that sort of big, like, emotion quake kind of scale. It'd be neat, though. But yeah, there's lots of versions of, healing someone's rage or assuaging their greed or, feeling fear and not being able to, wield will and think. There's lots of different examples of that out there.
Is there any specific, like allegories that have been used for, like, representing like mental health and things like that?
I don't know specifically to the end of mental health.
Yeah,
that feels like too many layers that they haven't cut through yet.
Yeah,
I mean, it's very obviously an allegory because the idea of the emotional spectrum is like so paper thin as a metaphor, right? Like it's very, very like fear is the enemy of will. We get it. Parallax was inside the green power battery.
Yeah.
That's the yellow impurity. Fear it was eating away at the heart of will. Like it's literally like what is happening. It's such like it's almost not a metaphor.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is already allegorical, but I don't know that they've ever gone far enough to really, with any sort of real impact to address like mental health. I mean, you can extrapolate things. Lots of those lanterns have things they're dealing with or issues from their past or things like that. And there's lots of, if you look at the Red Daughter of Krypton arc where Supergirl becomes part of the Red Lantern Corps, that's about her dealing with her own anger and frustration. And there are things in there, but do they ever go full, like all the way to making it about mental health? No. You can infer it and it's not in there, but I don't think they've ever gone like we're doing a story about mental health. Yeah, here's how we're going to do it. It would be neat.
On the topic of spectrums, too, I'd be interested to see if they would ever sort of have this incorporate somebody with autism in there, because their sort of management of the emotional spectrum is a little bit different than regular people, and sometimes have a harder time with it and things like that. Like, I think that would be an interesting.
I mean, maybe the closest version of like someone explicitly dealing with a mental health issue is Jessica Cruz, who has sort of like crippling, or had rather, sort of crippling like anxiety, agoraphobia, like couldn't leave her apartment, was just constantly consumed by fear. That's maybe the closest we've ever gotten to a story about mental health, because she's not initially chosen by the Green Lantern Corps. She actually gets Power Ring's ring. Power Ring is the like Earth 3 evil version of Hal.
Oh, okay.
But on that Earth, the ring is like predatory and seeks out the most cowardly person and dominates them.
Oh, wow.
So it's like the exact opposite of how the ring works on the Prime Earth. So when Power Ring was killed, that ring, the Ring of Volthoom, finds Jessica. She becomes Power Ring, and there's a lot of story in Justice League about Flash and Batman kind of helping her manage her fear, because a big part of that is not letting the ring take over. If the ring takes over, she goes evil. So they have to teach her to manage her fear and anxiety, to overcome it, in order to keep her as in the driver's seat, basically.
Yeah.
And when she eventually does, then she's chosen by a Green Lantern ring, becomes an actual member of the Corps. But then even at that, because she has all these doubts and things like that, it takes her forever to be able to make a construct. So actually, to revise my answer, Jessica Cruz is probably the best example of this, where between her appearances in the New 52 Justice League and then through Green Lanterns, that series, her development is literally about overcoming and adapting and pressing forward through her own mental health issues. So yeah, I revised my answer. That is the one. That's the one story that's like explicitly that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. Next question. We're leaving email and heading on over to Reddit,
where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
Muy caliente. The first question comes from the other doctor. It's Dr. Hood.
Dr. Hood.
Hooty Hood.
Hooty Hood.
Who asks, the emotional spectrum has been used to create a huge variety of abilities by all kinds of lanterns. What's the weirdest or most unique ability you remember seeing? Remember the time Simon Baz woke up someone from a coma using only willpower?
Yeah. So, right. So there's things that most lanterns can do. If you get a lantern ring and you're part of a corps, you can fly, it protects you, get some sort of defensive abilities. You can generally shoot energy. Most of them can make constructs. That's sort of shared among the corps. But then each Corps also has sort of like special abilities that only they have. For example, the Red Lantern Corps, the red light of rage actually like replaces your blood. It like stops your heart. And for the most part, if you become a Red Lantern, you're sort of mindless. You're all rage. You can spew this like blood acid and things like that. You actually need to go through this like sort of magical blood ritual to regain your like consciousness, your sentience. Many of the Red Lanterns have, but your initial state as a Red Lantern is savage. You're almost not like sentient, almost. Like I said, Orange Lanterns have the ability to basically like they can steal almost your soul, and then that core of Orange Lantern constructs, they are semi-sentient. Like Larfleeze doesn't have to make Glomulus do all the things Glomulus does, and Glomulus can exist like light years away from Larfleeze. Those constructs have a degree of their own like autonomy, which is unique to the Orange Lantern Corps. Yellow Lanterns, the Sinestro Corps, they can like feel and read your fears and then project them back to you. That's a thing they can do. Blue Lanterns, like I said, can supercharge greens, but they can calm some of like the negative emotions, right? Like Saint Walker, the leader of the Blue Lantern Corps, uses it to basically keep Larfleeze's quote unquote hunger at bay during Blackest Night.
Mm-hmm.
He can basically make him feel less greed to just so that he's at all helpful. The Indigo Tribe, because it's compassion, like empathy, they have the ability to mimic other lantern lights.
Ooh.
They can because the idea is that they can feel what you're feeling, right? Like that's empathy, that's compassion. So they can then mimic the light of any other core. That's a unique trait for the Indigo.
Yeah.
They can also teleport. That's a big one for them. Although lots of lanterns can use the transluminal space and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean the Star Sapphires. I'm trying to think what's their unique thing. They got a lot of stuff with crystals, but that's like on Zamoran itself.
Mm-hmm.
But at any rate, most of the Corps have some sort of like unique kind of trait. And in the Green Lanterns series, they were doing some stuff with Simon Baz where he kept getting like new powers. So he was healing people. Yeah, through sheer force of will. He had a thing called the Emerald Sight where he could like kind of see the future. But these things weren't super, at least in what I read of them, they weren't super well explained beyond the idea of like, well, with enough willpower, you know, like almost kind of a throwaway thing. I'm not, I will be honest, it's possible there is an issue where they said, this is how it works, and I just missed it. But I actually am not really sure if they ever did that. I think that thing with Simon, they were like, I think they were trying to figure out, like, what will make Simon last? What will make him special? We have, like, 6 Earth Lanterns. We have so many.
Yeah.
You know, I think they were trying to figure out what that was, and so they were introducing these new things, but I don't know. I mean, it's not to say that they don't make any sense. You know, like, the Book of Oa, the thing that, like, all the rings can tap into. The things that they all tapped into for all of their knowledge and everything. That it's a book of everything that's ever happened to the Corps, and it did, at least for a while, include like future events.
Oh wow!
So the idea of the Emerald Sight is not completely out of nowhere. It could just be that somehow he's found a way to unlock the part of the ring that can access that part of the book. You know, like there are comic booky rationalizations of some of those things, but I don't know that they ever got there in the comics or thought of it themselves.
Yeah.
As for the weirdest thing, I mean, the weirdest things are definitely those Simon Baz things because they were kind of out of left field. But I think the one that I find the most interesting is the Orange Lantern one, where they're sort of the constructs remain sort of semi-sentient, like he's stolen their soul.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
It's pretty fucked up, and I think I like the concept of that the best. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, ready for the last question?
Let's do it. Yeah.
You're a man who has experience changing diapers.
I am.
You better get ready because the next question comes from Big Baby Barlow.
Oh, that's the creepiest.
Man, I've got a question. Can you change my diaper?
This is my nightmare.
A bit of bad baby.
I don't want to kink shame, but it really weirds me out that that's like a thing.
My diaper's full and it's not just poo.
You know what I mean? That super weirds me out.
It's something that fascinates Jessica.
I mean, academically,
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, it makes me very uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable anyway, but it especially makes me uncomfortable now that I'm a father.
But I'm just a little baby, doctor. You're a doctor. Can you take my temperature?
Jesus God. What does Big Baby Barlow ask?
Big Baby Barlow asks, what the fuck is the invisible spectrum? Have others been revealed besides ultraviolet? Can you come up with something with some that should be on the spectrum?
Right. As part of the fallout from Dark Knight's Metal and Justice League No Justice, stuff that is now being explored in Scott Snyder's...
Hashtag sorry, not sorry.
Scott Snyder's Justice League run, which is this very like a multiverse threatening kind of arc. All of these new energies were sort of released into the multiverse when they broke the source wall, and it included things like the other forces, like the Still Force, which is the counter to the Speed Force.
Okay.
It also included this thing called the Invisible Spectrum, which is like the unseen counter to the emotional spectrum. It's not that everything has like an exact counter, because we've literally only seen one core, and it's the ultraviolet core. And like I said, the idea is that that emotion is some form of like shame.
Shame.
The thing that leads the ultraviolet core, this thing called Umbrax, which is almost like a sentient sun.
Professor Umbrax.
No, it's Umbridge.
Wow.
Umbrax finds like planets with the most self-destructive tendencies, and then stokes that and feeds on that and sort of controls anyone in that core via their self-destructive tendencies. So, like, I think a shorthand for that is that it's some sort of like shame lantern, basically.
Kinky.
But that's literally the only one we've seen. Sinestro is currently wielding and has assumed control of the ultraviolet spectrum, or ultraviolet core.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen any others. They say it's part of the invisible spectrum, but that's literally all that we have right now. I mean, in the real electromagnetic spectrum, once you get beyond infrared and ultraviolet, you're getting into other things like radio waves, microwaves, gamma. Like they're not. We don't call them colors anymore.
Yeah.
Because they're outside of our visual range.
Yeah.
So I think narratively they're sort of bound to that, but that means that there could at some point be an infrared core.
Which is pretty rad.
What would you want that to be? Keeping in mind that these should probably be pretty dark, not necessarily like evil, but negative.
Could be malice.
Yeah, and then how would you distinguish that from rage?
Well, because it's almost like a combination between like greed and rage,
and I guess it's more calculated.
Jealousy,
it's not as uncontrollable. It's almost scarier because it's like there's an element of like planning,
intent,
premeditation, malice, the malice core.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually pretty terrifying.
I don't want to do this.
That's pretty good. I like that for an infrared core. That's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we'll ever get like a full invisible spectrum, but I mean, the idea has been put out there. A writer could
come in and do it. Yeah,
come in and do it. I do hope at some point to see an infrared core. It would be a shame because it's one other thing for which we do kind of have like a color designation, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of writers coming up with things, you know what time it is.
I sure do.
It's It's time for Daldock. It's the Daldock.
know the
It's
time.
the time for the Daldock, and it's Daldock.
I don't have to last minute look at things because I know what I'm doing.
Well, how about we first take the Daldock from Jesse?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Who his character is X Hope X Less X.
Okay.
Written
Like
as
an MSN screen there?
yeah, like lowercase x, big capital letters Hope,
Right.
lowercase x, big capital letters Less, and then lowercase x.
Right, okay. Hopeless, yeah, with the X's.
It turns you into an intense manic depressive scene kid. The better the outlook you have, the weaker you become. The moment things are at its bleakest, you can bend reality, have One Punch Man level strength, but are too depressed to really want to do anything.
Wow. That is...
Woof.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah,
I really like that.
that's good.
Very nice. Great submission.
Do you have one?
Do you?
I do.
Okay.
It's on this theme. This one is a villain to the White Lanterns.
Okay. Alright.
Its name is Prism.
Ooh.
And
Nice.
we didn't explain what Daldock is.
Oh my god, we didn't at
No.
all. It's based on Dial H for Hero, which was a series where it used to be that people would write in ideas, but basically you have this magical H dial. If you dial Hero, it turns you into a never-before-seen hero or villain. If you dial V for villain or E for evil.
Yeah, I think so.
It turns you into a never-before-seen character with crazy powers and usually a punny kind of name.
Yeah.
So every week, we try to come up with our own
Yes.
Dial H characters.
So mine is I dialed evil. It's a villain for the White Lanterns. Its name is Prism, and it has the ability to anytime that the White Lanterns use their power against them, they can then take any of the abilities from any of the other lanterns.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Interesting.
You can bring that into them and then put out any
Sure.
of the other colors.
Very nice. Yeah. That's perfect. And Green Lantern themed. Very nice.
Yeah.
Both of these were emotional spectrum themed. Should mine also be emotional spectrum themed?
I mean, I don't want to set a precedent here, but
Sure. Mine is called Silver Lining.
I mean, silver's a color.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't go into metallic colors.
It's
You could have
true.
a gold core, like
Copper core.
copper core.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I guess you could do that. Yeah. So Silver Lining, basically, their ability is that they can anything that's done to them, they get the best possible outcome of it. So let's say someone, throws a brick at them or something.
Okay.
The best possible outcome would be that they either catch it or it just misses them or it hits a thing that they that knocks something else over in like Rube Goldberg's kind of style, and then they end up with something good. But basically, I guess it would be almost like a version of like Domino, like a luck kind of power. But it's, they get the best possible outcome of anything done to them. If someone punches them in the face, it probably breaks that person's hand. or as opposed to them getting fully injured. Or, if they, if they fall down off a cliff or something, they'll probably find a thing they need to help them get back up.
Oh.
Or some shit like they just always end up with the best possible.
Is it like a Pink Panther scenario?
Yeah, I mean a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's almost like failing up kind of thing. Yeah.
Hey,
But
that sounds like us.
Yeah, but that's Silver Lining. Cool, man.
I'm sorry. Well, we would love to hear what type of characters you residents could come up with. I always love when we get
Oh,
them.
yeah.
They're always far more funny.
They're always better than
intelligent.
us,
Yeah,
every
absolutely.
time. Fairness, they're not doing it on the spot, so
I love how you.
so defensive.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the defensive lantern.
That could be one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just called low self-esteem.
I'm the cobalt blue defensive lantern.
All you have to do is use the hashtag DialDoc and send us your idea for a hero or a villain. Also, you can send us a question for next week's episode. An update on the video episode.
Yeah.
It didn't arrive. So
What?
yeah, so I'm pretty sure that Amazon fucked me. So now I have to deal with that.
What?
Yeah,
It didn't arrive at all?
no,
Oh.
and it's past the date now. So I now have to go pull the flag up the chain and see what the fuck happened.
Wow. Well, we're sorry that we keep postponing this video episode, but it will happen. But this is what happens when you live in a very remote location like
This
this.
is also when you order stuff from China through Amazon.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's fair. That's the other piece of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, then next week's episode, we're going to do, instead of our art episode, we're going to do Mistresses of Magic.
Sexy.
So all of the basically female magicians of DC.
Ooh, I like that.
And guess what? It's more than just Zatanna.
What?
Considerably more. So please send your
What?
questions about... I mean, if you have a Zatanna question, send it
Hell
to
yeah.
But really, like
The whole gambit.
all of it. Yeah, so Mistresses of Magic. That is next week for the pod.
My safe word's popcorn.
Oh no.
You can reach us and ask those questions through our various social media platforms, such as our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast.
Twitter,
At Dr. DC.
Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast.
email,
Dr. DC Podcast at gmail.com.
read it.
r/Dr_DC.
And of course, the DAC phone is now open. All you have to do is call 208-917-3238.
208-917-DC-EU.
Also, not only can you talk to us online, but you can also read some DC specific articles or buy our merch
Buy our merch.
on our website.
That is drdcpodcast.com. Nailed it!
And of course, get them reviews, baby.
Yeah, we're over 40, I think.
Yeah, we're heading close to 52.
When we get to 52 reviews, 5-star review. By the way, I should say 5-star reviews. Stump Chunkman sent me a thing that was like reviews review. That's not really the spirit of it.
what was the review?
I think he said he was gonna like whisper it to someone at FanCon, and even if they hated that he was reviewing the podcast, he was like, reviews review.
I mean, you're not wrong.
It's gonna be a good review of us. They can still hate it,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
has to be a good review.
Oh, they're gonna hate it, but it has to be a good review of
When we
us.
get to 52 5-star reviews, then Richard and I are getting tattoos. DC Comics tattoos.
That's right.
That you don't get to choose. We're not that stupid.
Yeah, no. I mean, we're stupid, but we're not
We're
that
stupid. We're not that stupid.
Yeah,
we
but-
have wives to keep us from doing anything too crazy.
But we've opened the gates onto where these reviews can come from. You can not only can you ask them on iTunes, which we'd love to get those from there,
Of
but
course, yeah.
there's a ton of other social media
iTunes,
platforms.
Facebook, Podbean, wherever you listen.
Yeah, exactly. All you have to do is just send us a snapshot of that and tweet it on over to us or direct message us from somewhere.
Do you remember the show Art Attack?
Oh my god.
If you take all of the clothes in your closet and you do a 5-star review in the floor, Art Attack style, like you send us the time lapse.
I think that's
That
a
counts.
Canadian thing, but
That's a review. You can absolutely do that.
you can pee into the snow and write the review. I'd be very impressed. I feel like it would either be a lot of water, a multiple of
I'd also be impressed
people.
because it's July.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
You could do that. You could
If you're a figure skater and you can carve a 5-star review during your long program, then take a picture of it and send it to us. That counts.
pay for planes to do that in like when they do with the smoke or whatever, the skywriting.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Are you like a dominatrix? Do you like if you make
A sub?
one of your subs just yell a 5-star review? Obviously, don't record it because that's a consent issue. But let us know if it happened. That counts.
Really, I mean, you could just get them to do a review online, and that would totally work
Yeah,
too.
if you get them to type a 5-star review.
But I'd like to
while
know
you're
that that's why it
dominating them.
happened.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
appreciate knowing that.
The code word is watermelons jubilee, and if that's in there, I'll know what was happening.
If you make some sort of poop art, You can write it in that.
Especially if you make poop.
Preferably, I'd like to see poop art.
Yeah.
That I would really like that. That would be really good. I mean, you could get a tattoo of a 5-star review.
You know what you should do though is get the tattoo on the inside of your eyelids, so when you go to sleep at night, it's a 5-star review of the Dr. DC podcast.
Oh, I like that. Those are really good. Those are some great ideas.
I just wanted to throw it out there too because I mentioned it off the top. If you want to spam tweet the Vancouver Podcast Festival
that's
to
right.
bring us down, their Twitter handle is @RealVanPodfest. Tell them we would make fun panelists, or it would be fun for us to go down and do a live show.
Yeah, we could do a van pan.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, so that's @RealVanPodfest.
Hashtag DRDC Van Pan.
Yeah, that's really confusing.
Yeah. All right. And of course, subscribe to that Patreon, baby.
It's patreon.com/DrDC. It's only $5 a month. You got a full bonus episode every week. They come out on Fridays. We talk about some DC stuff, some non-DC stuff, music, movies, TV,
video
books, games. We've had some cool guests. There's lots of really neat stuff up there.
And this week we're doing a DC one, so
you actually get double DC this week.
Yeah,
double DC.
Yeah, you get 2 Ds when it's with the Doctor and me.
DCDP.
That's it for this week. Ciao, ciao.
Adios.
All the superheroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.